Okay, first off, I just wanted to say thank you so much for buying these LUTs and trusting me with your dollar. I guarantee that this LUT pack is going to make your footage look more cinematic. And there's a specific process that I go through to get the most out of these LUTs. And we're going to go through that process today so that you can make sure that you're getting the most out of these LUTs too. So, yeah, let's get started. So first off, we have this 10-bit footage of this Aston Martin. And what we're going to do is we're here in the color panel. We're going to go over to our Lumetri color window and create 3 layers of Lumetri color. And if we go back to our effect controls here, I'm just going to collapse these so you can better see. We've got all 3 here. What we're going to do is we're going to rename this first one to base. The second one will be called LUT. And the third one will be called Rec 709. This is the process for using my regular LUTs, not the log-based LUTs. I'm going to go over the log-based LUTs here in a second, but for this clip, we're going to be using one of the regular LUTs, which involves a Rec 709 conversion first. So, with that being said, what you're going to want to do is jump over to your Rec 709 layer in your Lumetri color window. And if you haven't already downloaded a Rec 709 conversion for your camera and your particular picture profile, what you're going to want to do is go on to Google, type in your picture profile, so in this case, slog3 sgamut 3 cine, the entire profile, to Rec 709. And that should give you links to your camera's manufacturer's website, which has free downloads from the actual manufacturer to Rec 709 conversions that you can then just drop into Premiere Pro. So that's what I've done here with this Sony footage. So if we go here, you're going to see it, and it's going to be this one for me, sgamut 3 cine slog 3. Drop that on there, and then it converts the footage to Rec 709. This is essentially color corrected footage. Now, with this in place here, I can already see that the exposure is not where I want it before I even put a LUT on. And so that's why we've created this base layer. So if we jump back to the base layer, this is where I'm going to make any exposure adjustments, hue, saturation, even contrast can be done here. So what I'm going to do is drag this exposure down. That looks perfect, actually. Let's do it right there. And then personally, I'm going to go and apply the LUTs now. Now the footage is at a better starting point. But what's nice is even if you skip this step and do the LUT first, they're separated out. So basically, these changes are first, they're going to go down this chain of command here. So when you make changes to this base layer, it's applying all of the changes to the footage before it hits these next two, which means that you're not going to be damaging any of the, you're not going to be negatively affecting the LUT itself. Rather, you'll be affecting the footage before it gets hit by the LUT. And you'll see why that's important and why that's helpful here in a second. So we're going to go over to the LUT, and we are going to go to Lumetri Color under the LUT layer, come down here to Creative, and then you can't see it because it goes up onto my top monitor, but grab any one of the LUTs provided. And what's nice is you can actually go back over here to Effect Controls, or I think even right here. Yeah, so you can actually just hover your mouse over this drop-down menu and just roll your mouse over it, and you can see the different LUTs get applied to your footage, which is super helpful rather than having to click and find the next one in line. So let's see, are we going to go for a clean look or a very stylized look? That is the question. I will say this right off the bat. If we go to a really heavy LUT like Hemi or Barracuda, one nice thing that you can immediately do if you feel like the LUT goes on too strong, but you think that it might look better if it were a bit lighter, is come down here to the intensity, and you can just drag that down. You see that? So like if it goes on initially too strong, just bring it down a little bit, and suddenly you're gonna have a much better product to a much closer image to what you were envisioning. That's what I'm trying to say here. Clearly, I'm really good at doing two things at once. But I think I'm actually going to go with probably Daytona. I think I like the slightly cleaner look for this one. So with that in place, I'm now going to go back to my base layer and make further adjustments. So I do like the exposure. I'm going to play around with the contrast a little bit though, just for kicks. So I'm going to jump over here into the curves. This is where I like to work with contrast personally. And I'm just going to drop this down, see what happens to the shadows, and then pull these highlights back up too, right up here at the top. Yeah, I think I like that slightly higher contrast look. And then most of the time, if the car is the hero in the shot, then I want to make sure the car is jumping off the screen at least more than the objects around it. So in this case, there is great contrast with the red against the blue background, but I just want to bring out that red even further. So we're going to go, back to the curves. We're still in the base layer. And I'm going to go to hue versus saturation and just grab all of the reds, even into the magentas and partly into the oranges, just because there's a lot of fluctuation in hue there. And just push that up. There we go. Play that back. That looks really nice. Nice and stylized, not too heavy. Like I could even bring back this contrast on the bottom end a little bit. Yeah, like that looks really nice. Let's look at the before and after. Yeah, that's pretty significant. That looks good. And I actually really like the saturation levels on everything else. I think that the car boosted nicely and everything else looks fine. So yeah, I like that. Let's jump over to the next piece of footage. This is, I believe, in Hamburg, Germany. Overcast day, 10-bit footage. With this one, I actually saved us some time and already made the 3 different Lumetri color layers. So we're going to go to Rec 709, do the exact same process. Go up to basic correction, drop that Rec 709 LUT on there. And then I'm going to head down to LUT because I like the exposure where it's at right now, at least currently. It might change when I put the LUT on. I might get some more inspiration. But now that we're in the LUT layer, we're going to jump down to the LUTs. Just grab one off the list and then start scrolling through. It's kind of fun. That's moody. That's big moody. Kind of like those actually. That looks good. I like that one. Yeah. Yeah, that one. That one's like just the right amount of like blue, moody, overcast feel. Yeah, that looks really good. And honestly, like I'm pretty happy with that. I think I would just leave that exactly where it is. So like you saw before, I could jump over here to the base layer and I could bring up some more exposure, bring it down further. I could mess with the highlights. I could bring up the shadows. Like this is where you can see how malleable the footage can be with these LUTs applied. So like if you wanted, this could totally just be like a starting point for your color grade, and then you can build off of it from here. But I think this looks great. So let's jump over to the next one. Okay, this one will be 8-bit footage. Now this 8-bit footage here, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you how to use one of the log-based LUTs. So with that, we only need one layer essentially. And this single layer can handle our exposure, hue saturation changes, the LUT itself, And then if you want to, you can build on more layers to your own taste and to your own design. But out of necessity, you just need one. So we're going to jump over here to Lumetri Color, and we don't need basic correction, not yet at least. I'll come back up here later. First I want to see how the LUTs go on. Let's see here. There we go. Let's toss on. So these are going to be the ones that end in log that we're going to be using. You'll notice that they're doing the Rec 709 conversion in the process, which is a huge time saver. I'm already seeing that I'm going to want to bring this exposure down. Yeah, I'm going to do that right now, actually. So we'll jump back up here, bring that exposure down. And you can see that, like, there's definitely clipping going on in the highlights right over here. And so with that in mind, with essentially the footage, the camera's limitations in mind, I'm just going to bring it down to right about here. And then I'm going to mess with the contrast. Let's go over here to, no, let's go down to curves. Put one in the middle. Oh yeah, that's a big help already. That looks pretty good. I do want to try a few other LUTs though. I feel like we might be able to find something better than that even. Let's see. Kind of like that one actually. That's not for this one. That one's soft, but I think I want it to be a little bit more stylized than that. That is way, well actually we could dial back the intensity on Barracuda and see what happens. That's a little better. Although I think I liked Quattro the best on this one. Put this back to normal, see what that looks like. Yeah, I think I like that. And I might even jump up here into the basic correction, just cool it down just like a tad. Yeah, just a bit, just to create like a bit more contrast between the shadows. That looks really nice. Let's look at before and after. And that's all in one layer, so that's like mega convenient right there. Yeah, and then like I said, if you want to add more layers for your own like styles and effects, go for it. But that can all be done in one layer right there. Next up, we just have this backlit footage during sunset hours. For this one, this was 10-bit color. Let's see, I did already, so we've got the 3 different layers already set up here. So I'll just jump in here to Rec 709. You already know, toss that on there. Footage looks great. And then I'm just gonna jump up here to LUT. I don't see any exposure changes necessary right now. The waveform looks really good right now. So we're just gonna start throwing on some LUTs in the creative section down here. Let's start at the top. Now we're not going to be using the log LUTs this time. That one went on super strong, but I do like the tone. So if we were to dial that back, that's actually kind of cool. Let's scroll through these. That one looks really nice too. You can also see the before and after of just the layer that you're working with by just hitting this effects icon up here. I actually really like that right there. That looks really nice. Maybe I will jump into the base section and mess with the curves here again. Maybe even actually put this back. Maybe bring this up a little bit. I kind of like that. Then allow some contrast back in. Bring this back up. Not too much because she is backlit. And like, we don't want to create like a tacky fake fill on her face. At least not for what I'm going for. But yeah, I think that looks nice. Let's look at before and after on that one. Yeah, that looks nice. I really like the tones in that one. Next, we got this 10-bit footage of a gondola in Venice. We are going to throw on our Rec 709 conversion in our Rec 709 layer. Bam, looking great. Love the exposure. Everything is looking nice and crispy in the waveform over there. Jump over here to the LUTs and start messing around with these. Let's start at the top. These are also not log LUTs, as I'm sure you've caught on by now. Not for these clips that we're doing Rec 709 conversions on. Daytona looks great on this. Ooh, I mean, it looks pretty good too, actually. If we were to bring that back a little bit. Not even. Leave it there. It's almost like spooky. Let's try Miura. Not bad. Pagani. Very cool. I like that. Quattro. Also good. Oh, while we're actually going between these two, if you're curious, so Pagani and Quattro are very, very similar in tones, and on some pieces of footage, you might not actually be able to see much of a difference. The difference that I created between them is Pagani's going to have more of a yellow tone, especially for like oranges and skin tones, whereas Quattro is going to better preserve skin tones. So you might still use Pagani on scenes with like people in them, and you just might like that look. But if you're trying to preserve skin tones, I specifically designed Quattro to maintain the skin tone, whereas Pagani adds more of like a yellow hue to it, which I think in this regard, I think it looks really, really nice. You can kind of see the shift there in the sky and in the buildings. But we're going to go with Pagani for this one because I think that's a sick look. And I actually really like how contrasty that is. We aren't maxed out on the top of the wavelength either by any means. But I do want to bring the highlights down a little bit just because it's so overcast. Whoops, not in the LUT section though. You're going to always have more flexibility if you're working in the bass section. So bring that down. Oh yeah, look at how much detail is up in that sky. That looks way good. Yeah, I like that a lot. Let's play through that. Yep. Oh yes. That's delicious. Before, after. Let's go before and after on the LUT too. Before, after. Yeah. Yeah, and that's full intensity too. Like we could even dial that back if we wanted, but I just really like how intense that looks. This one is 10-bit footage. We are going to be throwing on... So I've got all of the layers on here, but I want to show you that the log LUTs work well on 10-bit footage just as well as they do on 8-bit footage. So, whoops, went too far. We'll just delete these two. So we have just the one layer now. And what we're going to do is jump down here to Creative. And for this one, I want to throw Barracuda on there. Yeah. Yeah, that's like, maybe the shadows are a little too crushed, so maybe like dial it back just like a bit. Maybe like right there. But that looks freaking fire, dude. That is crispy. Yeah. Yeah, there's like, I might do the same thing in the highlights to the sky up there, those clouds. Just bring that down like a little bit. Yeah, that is delicious. And then maybe even push the shadow, or maybe the blacks. Yeah, push the blacks a little bit. Oh, that is so good. That is just delicious. I don't know if it's the fact that like I don't know, I like cool cars, but like when you put a cool grade over a cool car, that's just yep, that's good. Next, we've got this 8-bit footage of this Ferrari F8 Tributo. We are going to be doing, let's do another log LUT on this one too. So reduce it down to this one layer. And just start messing around with, go up here, there we go. With the log LUTs. See Barracuda, that one on there very strong. If we dial that back, that could be cool. Daytona. That's pretty simple. I'd probably want to bring down the exposure. That might be a theme across all of them. Yeah. I'm going to bring down the exposure right now, actually. There we go. That'll get me a lot closer to where I want to end up. Give me a better idea of what LUT I want to use. Hemi. Classic strong LUT. Dialing it back, though, that actually looks pretty dang cool. Keep that one in mind. Mura. Pretty clean. Not bad. Pagani. Not what we're looking for. Quattro. Quattro's actually kind of cool on this one. I kind of like that. Scuderia. Vanquish. I do like the cool tone in Vanquish. It's like a clean, cool tone. Veloce. Probably too cool for what we're working with here. Zagato. Too vibrant, too clean for what I want. Maybe either Vanquish or Quattro. I think I want Quattro. I'm going to go with Quattro. Call me wrong, but that's what we're going to be doing. I'm going to push the blacks up a little bit. Actually, I like the intensity. I think I just want the blacks to be restored a bit, and that looks nice. I like that. I like that very much. I'm going to do the same thing to this car too, where I'm just going to really make it the hero of the shot and push the color of it. So we're going to push that red up. Everything in here, push that up right there. Actually, maybe that's too much. Maybe get a little bit more narrow than that. That looks pretty good. I think I want to, I'm going to go back to the wide, and then there's just like some strange orangey cast going on here. Maybe I'll try and grab that and see if I can tweak that back to red. Oh, that is the entire image. It might just be the entire image though. Let's grab a dropper and see. What are you? That's like the main red. How about down here? Maybe not. Maybe there's too much red in this. You probably want to, if I wanted to get really particular, I'd have to like mask out the car. Maybe just like the slightest bump there. Just a little bit to help that out. Yeah, that's good. That made a difference. Yeah, that looks nice. Let's stick with that. And I might I think if I were to go in depth on this, I'd probably add, what the heck, let's just do it. Let's go in depth on this. We're going to add another lumetri color. This is where like the stylization comes into play. The really like subjective, do what you want to make it look the way that you want. And I'm going to take a mask here, drag it out yonder, like that. And then I'm going to feather the heck out of it, bring that down. And then in this lumetri color right here, I'm just going to grab the exposure and just bring that down. There we go. Like so, it's such a subtle change, but it helps so much. Sweet. Now we're going to jump over to some vertical footage here. And basically, we'll be using this shot. I want to show you some broad daylight footage because a lot of that was overcast, and like sometimes that's cheating. Like, what a perfect world, you know, shooting in overcast or golden hour. Like, we can't all have that. Here's broad daylight out in the open. Here's what we're going to do for this one. Rec 709, jump over here, drop in the Rec 709 LUT, or conversion, you know what I meant. Jump over here to the LUTs. And this one, we're going to be using Zagato. So Zagato is really good for a clean and vibrant look, which is exactly what I want. Whoops, that's the log one, which is exactly what I want for this daylight scene. And with the look that I'm going to go for here, I'm actually going to jump over here to the base section and just push that exposure even further. Yeah, like pretty dang bright. Bring the highlights back down again. Don't want to do anything too crazy with those highlights. And then, as always, the car is the hero of the shot. I want it to stand out. I want it to catch your attention. So we're going to be pushing the color of the car out too. We're going to go all the way into the greens just because when you have a yellow car against a blue sky, you're going to get a bit of a green shift in the paint, and that's just a reflection mixing against the yellow. So we're going to be pushing this up like so. And if you need to, if it starts to look a little bit too green, you can jump over here into the greens and just like massage this around until it's where you want it to be. And now let's look at a before and after, just on the base alone. Yeah, that's just building onto this LUT essentially. And now you have this nice, vibrant, sunny day shot with great exposure, still looks stylized. Because if we jump down here to the LUT, if we take this off, you'll see it's still got a grade to it. It's not just Rec 709, but it's completely clean and completely workable too. So don't be afraid of shooting in broad daylight because I got you with Zagato here and other ones too. Let's show you another one. So this one right here, maybe you don't want the super vibrant look of Zagato, but you are still shooting in daylight and you want more of like a stylized look or like even like slightly moody. What I would do is actually, we're in Rec 709, chuck that on, jump down to base. I would try using, let's find out. I think it's, yeah, Daytona. Like this is one of the lighter ones to go on. You'll notice that like some of them go on a lot stronger. That's log, so that doesn't count. Some LUTs go on a lot stronger than others, and that's by design. Like I said, you can always dial back the intensity of those stronger ones. But for this daylight shot, Daytona is going to work really, really well. And I'm actually going to do something quite similar where instead of grabbing the entire image's exposure, I'm just going to go over here to the curves and just try and pull the top up just to really kind of pull those highlights out a little bit, and then grab the color of the car as well and push that up too. So that way you're benefiting from the daylight by getting that beautiful reflection on the car, but you're also not making the image look boring either and flat, which you never want. Like that's what we're trying to avoid here. So if you go before LUT, after LUT, that's a big difference. So yeah, that's the way that I like to use these LUTs in Premiere Pro. I hope you guys can find the most out of them. And if you have any questions at all, feel free to DM me or email me or any other way of contacting me. I promise I'll respond and make sure that you're getting the most out of this, because these LUTs, I guarantee, will make your footage look more cinematic and make your color grading process so much easier. Have fun out there.